environment and their culture. And then, once they have that data and that feedback, really showcasing, what an authentic view of their culture is like to prospective candidates in the market. So that is what our company does. We have a number of different technology solutions, but that's at a high level what we do. We have about 130 employees, primarily based in Exton. So I think we have about 100 people in the Exton building, or not in the building currently, but we have about 100 people working out of the Exton location. And then we have some folks who are distributed in, Philly and Phoenix as well. So that's just a little bit about us. As far as our hiring situation, we are not hiring for full-time opportunities right now. So with a few very minor exceptions that are a little bit more high-level roles, a sales manager role and a possibly a data engineer role, a senior data engineer opening. However, we are trying to finalize what the internship program is going to look like this summer. We have already hired 2 interns. And, we're just trying to confirm with hiring managers, obviously, that they feel that they can. So it's from our leadership team, we are still actively going to run our internship program this summer. However, I'm working directly with hiring managers right now to just determine and make sure that they're prepared and comfortable, obviously training and onboarding and then managing an intern remotely in the event that we're not back in our normal, in office work environment by the summer. And I think that, just given the uncertainty of when, we'll be back in the office, I just want to make sure that they're comfortable and prepared to do this remotely, so that obviously the interns that we do bring on board have a wonderful experience. And then I think, from my perspective, when you're looking for internships or full-time opportunities, I mean, think outside the box. Think of some of the industries that are still, just like Lindsey mentioned, like obviously pharmaceutical. There are some businesses, while this pandemic is obviously affecting different organizations in a negative way, there are also a lot of industries that are, overwhelmed right now with, with work and with different, things to do. So, I mean, pharmaceuticals industry is a great one to look at. Manufacturing, I would also say, being in the technology industry, there are a lot of technology companies that can work 100% remotely, are still very active, and their businesses are, not negatively impacted. And in fact, like if you think of companies like Zoom, their business, I think I read that their stock just like tripled or something in price. And so, think outside the box when you're thinking of different industries to pursue. Obviously industries like the hospitality and transportation, those are going to be the hardest hit. So try to think outside the box. And I would definitely say, pharmaceutical industry, technology industry, there's a lot of manufacturing facilities that are running at like over, 100%, trying to produce, equipment and material. So think about that when you're looking for opportunities. And I'm sure obviously Rose and Kelsey can help you identify some of those, local companies in the Philly area, but I know from personal experience, there are a lot of tech companies in the Philly area that a lot of people don't necessarily know about. So there are a lot of, opportunities, I think, in those industries to offer, internship and full-time opportunities.
Thanks, Jessica. All right, Deana,
Yeah.
I'll go to you next. Deana, yep.
Yep. Hi, it's actually Deana.
Deana,
Yeah, no worries. Common mistake. I answered to both actually, so we're good. But Deana Welsch, guys, it's really a pleasure to be here. I'm really excited to see us kind of leveraging technology in uncertain times here. I work at RSM. For those of you who don't know, we are a public accounting professional services firm. We specialize in audit, tax, and consulting services. Personally, I manage the campus recruiting strategy and process for our consulting groups in the Northeast. So your big markets, Boston, New York, and Philadelphia. We have 5 consulting practices: risk consulting, technology consulting, management consulting, transaction advisory services, and financial consulting. In the Northeast, all 5 of those groups do hire off campus. So you might have met me on campus before, but that's really kind of what we're focused on for our interns and our associates. We are business as usual. If I've learned anything through this process, I'm very lucky to work at a great firm. RSM has been very supportive, and we already had a lot of technology in place for us to be able to work remotely and offer flexible work schedules. So, leadership and teams have been super supportive as far as allowing us kind of the opportunity to kind of navigate what the right work from home and remote work schedule is going to look like for sort of each of us. Those that have families might not be working that much in the middle of the day, and they're kind of picking up hours in the early morning and in the evenings. And so the firm has been supportive. We've also done a lot kind of to give back, donate to U.S. food banks. The firm is also supportive in giving employees, weekly stipends for groceries and money to leverage to help support local businesses. So I've been really lucky, and I've recognized really how fortunate I've been to be a part of this firm. So, just kind of adds to the long list of reasons why I enjoy working here. As far as hiring, we had a very, very successful campus recruiting season in this past fall for our Northeast consulting practices. So kind of coming into this spring, we had very limited opportunities already, kind of given the success that we had this past fall. However, there's still a couple of teams that we are actively recruiting for. We have a business valuation position open in our Philly office, and we have finance and accounting outsourcing roles open in our Bluebell office, outside Philadelphia there. So if you're interested in those opportunities, definitely kind of raise your hand. We've mostly focused our recruiting efforts this spring on our pathways. So those are your December 2021 and May 2022 candidates that are eligible for our summer leadership program. Some changes we've made: we fully intend to honor the commitment to bringing on our previously hired interns and associates. Interns are starting in June, our associates start in July. We're kind of working through if that process is going to look a little different. Perhaps we hope to be able to offer in-person orientations come June. However, if we're not, we're definitely working through what a virtual onboarding process would look like. As far as the experienced hires that we have starting, each and every week, they've been going through virtual onboarding processes. So we have a month or two here to kind of work out the kinks if we are required to do a virtual onboarding process for interns and or our incoming associates this summer. Hopefully we'll have a process there already in plan. There may be some changes around start dates and things that we're still kind of working through as this pandemic continues to evolve. But we're very focused on honoring our commitment for both our interns and incoming associates this summer. One other big change is that our summer leadership program, again, for those sophomore level individuals, we have moved it to a virtual program moving forward for this year. So there's probably 100 questions around what the heck that's going to look like. I have the same questions, but we are, feverishly kind of working through that right now. I was actually on a bunch of meetings earlier this morning, kind of really what that's going to look like and how we're going to really leverage technology to ensure that we can still engage and embrace the RSM experience. So if you are an incoming Pathways candidate or interested in that program, more to come on kind of the details as far as what that'll look like from a virtual perspective. And then lastly, just tips and tricks. I think Jessica made some really great points there. I think I'll just build off that just a little bit is, embrace this situation and the opportunity, put yourself in those uncomfortable situations to start to get a little bit more comfortable. We've actually replaced all first round interviews that we would maybe do over the phone with virtual now. We want to see how candidates act, in a video setting and how they can kind of interact, through technology. So if you have any opportunities, I'm sure you guys are also doing virtual happy hours like we are all the time. So any chance you can get to kind of be in front of the camera and kind of get some virtual meetings, really encourage. Leverage LinkedIn, really great tool right now. Business is slow for a lot of industries. So use the time to kind of reach out, ask for informal interviews, ask for opportunities to connect with different professionals, to learn, you know, different areas where you might be interested in taking your career, and really just kind of make the best out of the situation and the hand we were dealt here. Sorry if that was long-winded.
Thanks, Deanna. I'm going to switch now to Cindy Fetterman. Cindy is I don't know her title. Let's see.
Talent acquisition.
Senior talent acquisition at the PQ Corporation. And when we talk about our social network and our personal network, a little side note, Cynthia and I worked together many, many years ago in a whole different life. So I'm so excited when she said she could join us today. So hi, Cindy.
Hi there, how are you? And it wasn't that long ago, Rose, I mean.
Yes, it was, Cindy.
No, I know. Anyway, so what PQ Corporation does is we're an international chemical manufacturing company. We have 4 major divisions. We manufacture sodium silicate. Sodium silicate can be used in body care products such as the whitener in toothpaste. It can be used in water treatment. It can help improve the shelf life of beer, believe it or not. It can help with the tunneling industry and act as a soil stabilizer. We have another division, Performance Materials. They manufacture glass beads. Glass beads can be used in metal refinishing. They can be used in airport and highway line striping to make the lines more reflective. And we actually use about 1 billion pounds of recycled glass a year that goes into that final product. We have another division, our refining services. What they do is they recycle spent or used sulfuric acid, and then we sell that recycled acid back out to our customers. So because of the work that we do, we're North America's largest recycler of sulfuric acid, and that means about 1.5 million tons of acid is not going into a landfill every year. And then we have another division, our catalyst division. They work on removing sulfur from fuel used for land and marine transportation. We also have a piece of that is a joint venture with Shell Oil, and they work on better fuel emissions as well. So I think a lot of times when people hear chemical manufacturing, they think bad for the environment, they think dirty, all of those different things. And so I always like to tell the good news story of what chemical manufacturing does for us. We have a large R&D site in Conshohocken as well. A lot of what we hire aren't necessarily developers or technical folks, but we hire a lot of engineers. So we do chemical engineers, mechanical engineers, we do electrical engineers. So a great many of our folks are in the plants. We have 72 sites on 6 continents around the world. We were started in Philadelphia back in 1831. So being a U.S. company, about half of those sites are in the U.S. So right now we are business as usual, but with caution. So we are still hiring full-time roles. We're still moving forward, but each of the business units, because we're an international company, is affected by what goes on around the rest of the world as well. So these positions are important to us, but each one has to be kind of looked at a second time before we extend an offer. Our interns that we have, our largest plant is in Kansas City. We have a couple starting in Malvern as well. They're not starting until the mid to end of May anyway. So right now I'm communicating with all of our interns, hey, we want you. We're excited that you're going to come and spend some of your summer with us. But for right now, we're going to plan everything as those dates are solid. As we get closer to those dates, we may have to push them out, but our goal is not to have you cancel your internship. We want you to come on board. Our co-ops, we do have some co-ops starting. They were supposed to start Monday of this week. We've pushed them out for a couple of weeks, and I'm just staying in touch with those folks, and we'll just kind of push it out as we need to make sure that everybody stays safe. Where we can work from home, we do. Our plants, you can't work from home. So what we try to do is practice social distancing as much as we can. Our plants are 24/7. So we try to stagger, where the operators are and the engineers and so on. So we have very strict visitor policies going on right now so that we don't have interviews and candidates coming on site to many of our plants or our corporate headquarters in Malvern. So we're trying to do as much as we can by phone. We're trying to be creative. A lot of our managers like everybody in person to interview, and don't you as well, right? But we're trying to be creative with FaceTime. We're trying to use MS Teams. We're trying to use Zoom. We're trying to do as much as we can so that not only do we learn as much as we can about you, but you can learn as much as you can about us because you're interviewing us as well. You want to make sure that you're making that right decision. As far as where to find those internships, I think we've had a lot of great suggestions already. Family and friends, those are the best folks to go out to. And you know what? I get it. I know it's hard to go out and ask somebody for a job. I know it. It's hard, but you just have to, the first couple of times you do it, you get better at it. And people want to help you. The other thing too, I don't know if it's been noted already, but Campus Philly is a phenomenal organization that a lot of companies are working with and advertising their internships out there, as well as Handshake and those other places that are great resources. So hopefully that answers some of the questions as well. And staying connected on LinkedIn as best as you can.
Thanks, Cindy. And then we think we have one more employer, Randall. McCarty, you there? Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi. Randall is with the Clark Associates. So maybe a few words from you that, a little bit about what you're seeing, and then we'll finish off with Campus Philly, which I hopefully saved the last for last.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I would parrot a lot of what's already been said. We are a privately owned company in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. We are in the food service industry, and although the hospitality community has been really hit hard by this, since we support businesses, we're in the process right now of trying to figure out better ways to help them do their work. We do business in one of three ways. We have cash and carry stores called the restaurant stores. We have 9 of those now. We also have a huge website. We've captured about 80% of the U.S. business in the food service industry when it comes to supplies and materials that support restaurants and food facility providers. Anyone that makes or prepares food would need the supplies that we offer. We also have a division of the company that does design and build of commercial kitchens. So we have a group that works with both private and public entities to create commercial kitchens. And we have positions in all different divisions of the company. We are still hiring. We don't have an HR department. So if students are interested in reaching out and applying to our company, just know that your application is going right to the hiring managers. We've tried to decentralize that. So go to our website. We've got a number of positions in Lancaster. Most of them are in Lancaster, although we have new offices for website developers and our customer solutions team down in Tampa, Florida. But I know we're limited in time here, so I would say if you are at all interested in the company or finding out more about us or internships, we're still, we have a group of about 45 right now that we're hoping will start with us in mid-May or June, beginning of June. But check out the website. Feel free to get a hold of me if you have any questions.
And we're going to share contact information with everybody who's participating in this call so that you can connect with everybody in LinkedIn and follow up and review websites and things like that. Marissa, I'm going to let you bring us in the end. And then for students, we're going to open it up to questions. We're going to allow 2 ways to ask questions. If you're more comfortable posting your question on chat, that's fine. If not, you can raise your hand and then Kelsey will control some of those questions. And again, we'll make sure that the answers get back to everyone. So Marissa, we'll let you tell us what you're seeing on the more global Campus Philadelphia landscape.
Yes, of course. So I'm Marissa. I am the VP of Student Engagement over at Campus Philly. For anyone who's not familiar with Campus Philly, we are a resource for both employers and for college students all over the Philadelphia region. Right now, we've kind of pivoted things a lot. So some of our in-person events have obviously shifted to virtual. Our college nights have obviously shifted to, sharing virtual experiences with things like the opera and the orchestra. But right now, our main focus is being a resource to both employers and to students. So we actually put out a survey to a number of employers all across the region. We're still compiling all the results, but we're looking at what employers are doing to shift their models, and all of this insight was super helpful. We know that employers are interested in virtual events like this. We have a number of events coming up with Energage. Actually, we have a lunch and learn for first generation students that will be held virtually on April 17th. And we found that a number of employers all over the region do have an interest in doing these more professional development and kind of one-off events that aren't necessarily, an interview, but they're kind of these kind of events that help you learn and how to do a virtual interview, perfect your resume, master your LinkedIn profile. Because I forget who mentioned it, but this is the time. I mean, we should be embracing this time that we have a little bit of leeway, and we have, sometimes we're bored, and this is the time to kind of really beef up your resume and make sure that you're ready to go when that time comes to apply for jobs. As a couple of companies have mentioned here, there are still companies that are hiring for summer internships and entry-level jobs, and all of those jobs are posted on our career site, campusphilly.org/launch. We just had our online job and internship fair called Intern Philly, and we had, I think, almost 1,000 different jobs posted throughout that time. They range from companies that are big, companies that are small, little nonprofits, startups, and it's a really great resource for students that are looking for, available opportunities. And as Jess from Energage mentioned, looking into these different industries like pharmaceutical and, public health, all these industries that are booming because of what's happening. We're trying to do different webinars and different virtual events that are focusing on these industries and the different types of careers involved. So our main goal is to be a resource to employers, but also to students. So what we've been doing on our website is posting a ton of resources that are meant to be as helpful as possible as you guys all transition to this new normal. So we posted a guide recently to mastering your LinkedIn profile, a resource guide to transitioning to a remote semester. So, being as productive as possible with your classes, making sure your background for virtual events is, good for interviews and good for virtual learning experiences. And of course, we also have a guide to exploring Philly virtually and staying involved in the city, even when you might not be in the region. Because when this is all over, we do want you to come back to the region. We want to show you that there are opportunities, that there are jobs, and we want you to love Philly as much as we do. And so we're going to continue to post that fun content in addition to all this virtual stuff too. And of course, check our Instagram. So every Thursday is our Career Thursday. We feature a different job. We feature different job tips. We've had takeovers from different companies. Again, Energage has done a great job at doing an Instagram takeover. And those are all located on our story highlights. And you could kind of get like a day in the life experience of a couple different companies all over the region. And we'll continue to be doing those as this all unfolds, because I mean, students are on Instagram. This is where you're scrolling aimlessly when you're not going to school, but also we want to be a resource professionally too. So when you're, mixing all the fun and the professional together, and that's what we try to do on our Instagram through having these different career events. So definitely give us a follow, because there's different job and internship opportunities that we're sharing, and a lot of great advice. But I'm excited to hear from you about how we can be a resource to you and your needs, and how we can kind of transition our content to be as helpful as possible for what you need right now.
Marissa, thank you so much. So students, I'd really like to open it up to you. This is an awesome group of people in a really diverse set of industries. We've heard some great things so far, but this is your chance to ask questions. What is the one thing that you're worried about, or that you want to know, or want to have as a takeaway from giving your hour here today? So either raise your hand or copy, or just open your mic, because right now it's quiet.
Hi, I'm William Perez.
Hi, William.
I was wondering about non-essential jobs. Should we hold off and work on our resume and then apply when more jobs are available, or should we apply now while no one else is applying?
That's a really great question. Jessica, I'm going to give that one to you. What are your thoughts?
Sure. I guess it depends on what you mean by non-essential. But I would say, as a rule of thumb, like if there's a job posting on a careers page that you're interested in, or that you see somewhere, apply for it. If it's, I think most, especially the people on the phone in talent acquisition, would agree with me that if a company's not hiring for a job, they're going to take that post down pretty quickly, because I can tell you from my own personal experience, I don't want to have a million applicants to a job that I'm not hiring for, because it just takes time for the HR and hiring team to review those. So I would say if it's posted and it's live, I would apply for it. I mean, I don't think that there's any, you're not gonna, the only, I guess, negative impact that it could have is that obviously they might tell you that they're, they filled the role or something, but I mean, I think it does not hurt to get your resume out there and get your name out there and apply for things that are posted.
Song, you have a question?
Yes, thank you. So I'm a mechanical engineering in a PhD program. I'm looking for a internship during the summer. I do find a lot of internship opportunities, but a lot of them are posted before the epidemic. I was wondering, the situation is changing maybe week by week. So will the internship change depending on the epidemic, or how can we know? Thank you.
Any one of our employers want to grab that one?
Yeah, I'll hop in. I think it's very difficult. This is changed by the hour here. So a lot of the decisions that we're making, as a firm it's changing. The last 2 weeks we've had communications kind of coming out almost daily on changes that we've seen. What I will say though is when you see positions that are posted on third-party sites, a lot of times they're a little bit delayed, and they still may be posted on those sites where the firm is not actually recruiting for them anymore. So in this uncertainty time, I would probably suggest kind of focusing directly on the company websites. Those tend to be their career sites. Those tend to be most updated, and unfortunately what's available today might not be available tomorrow, and that's just kind of the situation that we're all dealing with. And so I understand your frustrations, but no, on the talent acquisition side, that we're trying to keep that as up to date as possible. And I would just kind of recommend that you keep your searches to the company specific career sites, and just know that when they're posted on third parties, there's usually a lag or a delay on how those jobs get pulled out there. So it might not be as accurate as the company sites.
Yeah, Deana, that's a great comment. And when Deana talks about third-party sites, she's meaning sites like Indeed, and in some cases Handshake, not all the times, but so it's a great time. Marissa was talking about time. This is a great time to also not only perfect your resume, and I specifically use the word perfect, and I'll get back to that, but it's also a great time to research little known companies that you may never have thought of applying to today. I mean, here we heard from, Clark Associates. It's amazing. I learned new things today. So look for those opportunities and then follow those companies in LinkedIn, follow them, and really try to build a relationship with the company and with the talent acquisition folks in those companies. So LinkedIn is a great way. Students often think for our employers that LinkedIn is stalking. You guys will tell them it's not. It's the way they find talent. And if they might not need talent today, 2 weeks from now, they may get a position where they have a connection now in their LinkedIn, which has exactly the talent they're looking for. So, that's something to consider, okay? Any other questions from students? Anybody else have a question? There are no bad questions, guys.
So I'll hop in here real quick. Is that okay?
Sure.
So I know everything is very minute by minute at this point as different announcements come out. Have any of your organizations started looking at how your plans might change in 6 months to a year plus? I know that it's very, things are coming out very quickly right now, but just thinking like long term, have you begun having those meetings or conversations?
I can jump in there, Rose.
Yep, go ahead, Cynthia.
So I think we have to remember that prior to COVID-19, we had a great economy and things were going really, really well. And sometimes, not to make it too simplistic, but sometimes bad things just happen. And I think if we just get over this hump, then we'll see things start to recover again. They're constantly, the leaders are constantly looking out, not only 6 months, but 3 years out, and trying to predict what's going to happen. But I think if we get over this hump, now unfortunately for students, this hump happens to be over the summer, which is when internships and co-ops happen, and you have new graduates getting ready, and this would be their time that they're interviewing. So it puts a little damper on things, but all hope is not lost. This is, as we've been talking about, a good time to try and make those connections, or try to do those mock interviews, or practice, or all of those different things. And I know it's frustrating, and I know that it's hard, and these aren't necessarily the things that everybody wants to hear, but in the end, this may be a blessing in disguise, and you just kind of have to keep the chin up and keep going. I'll go back to an old cartoon, Chicken Little, right? And Chicken Little would wake up every day and be like, today is a new day. So whatever happened yesterday, we just have to focus on moving forward, right?
I would also like to just offer like an anecdotal thing to plus one that comment. I am going to date myself, but I am older than I look. I graduated college in December of 2008. So I actually went to James Madison, which is in Virginia, but I'm from the Philly area originally. So I moved back here after graduation in December of 2008. For those of you that were in the professional world at that time, the stock market crashed in October of 2008. So I graduated about 2 months after the entire, market crash. There were not a lot of companies hiring. I moved back home. I took a job at a bank doing like back office work, which was not what my degree was in, communication studies and public relations. So I took a role that, was not in my field, but they paid me and they offered me full benefits. I was in the role for maybe a month and a half, 2 months. I was obviously continuing to apply for jobs. And then I ended up getting a full-time role in my field at an insurance company by March. So, it may have taken a couple months longer than I would have liked, but, there's opportunities out there. You might have to get creative. You might have to temporarily take something that you wouldn't, especially for people looking for full-time roles. I know for internships, it's going to be a little bit different, but for full-time opportunities, you might have to, just, get creative with it and really, think beyond what, your typical path would have been. But I know from experience that, you can find opportunities in these kind of conditions and market, and, it's definitely, there is definitely hope.
The other thing that I mentioned previously about the perfection of your resumes, and these recruiters and talent acquisition folks will tell you the importance of really, really, really having your resume reviewed. Oftentimes we think, our resumes are great, or they're in good shape. We've proofed them twice ourselves, but now is the time to take, as Cindy said, take the time now to get other people to review your resume. The University Career Center is open and virtual. All of the college, because I know we had students from multiple majors and multiple colleges on, all of the college professional development centers are open and virtual. We will all work together to make sure that, your resume is in the best shape possible, because recruiters, that's their job. They want to make sure they find the best person with the best resume. And your LinkedIn profile. I know, Lindsey, you were talking about something specific. Maybe if you could share that story that you had shared with us when we started the call.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I utilize, I have a kind of dual role here at Eurofins. So I do regular scientific searching, but I also do executive level. So I'm, at times looking for CEOs and presidents. And on that side, I'm using LinkedIn on a back end as a recruiter to find those applicants. And so I'm utilizing keyword searches, I'm utilizing location searches. So now is the time that you want to go into your LinkedIn and just really make sure that you have all the information that you absolutely could put on there. So like I said, when I introduced myself, make sure that you're not just putting that you were a research associate or a lab tech. you really want to dive into what instrumentation you were utilizing. If you did an internship with someone, you want to really put out that you were working on P&L or other finance things, because companies are going to utilize those keywords to find you. So if you don't have it up to date, they're not going to find you. There's also options at the bottom of your LinkedIn where you can click on certain skills and make sure that you add that to your profile. You can also follow companies. I highly recommend that you go in and just, like you would any other social media tool, search the companies that you're interested in. If you're interested in pharmaceuticals, you're going to look up the big people: Johnson & Johnson, GSK, Merck. I'm a little ignorant to some of the other businesses, maybe in other fields, but make sure that you follow them as well, because that's going to show up and that's going to pull you up in those searches as well. I would encourage you to maybe look at some of your leadership at your college and see what their LinkedIn look like, or even use one of us recruiters, see what our recruiting LinkedIn pages look like, so you can use that as a model. The more detailed you are, the better options you're going to have to be pulled up.
Great. Anybody else want to give some feedback onto how important LinkedIn is for them as well?
I just wanted to say, we're talking a lot about, looking for opportunities and internships and roles. When you get an interview, when you find the opportunity, you're able to interview, do your research prior to that interview. So I think some of the most impressive full-time candidates and internship candidates I've seen recently are the ones that prior to their interview, if they're not told proactively by the person recruiting you, ask who you're going to be meeting with. Doesn't, whether it's a virtual interview or not, it doesn't change your ability to be prepared for the interview. So find out specifically who you're going to be speaking with if you haven't been told. Look them up on LinkedIn, get an idea of their background, how long have they been with the company that you're interviewing with, where they were before that. You might be able to find some commonalities that you have with that person that you can, use it's just as a talking point in the interview. So I would say, this is kind of going back to like control what you can control. You can control your ability to be prepared for an interview, and LinkedIn is a, obviously in the company website and things like that, but LinkedIn is a really great tool to, really look up the company and make sure you know who you're speaking with in the interview, and really do a solid job researching.
And I want to also stress in LinkedIn that there's the opportunity to find Temple alums via LinkedIn. So again, if you're going to be interviewing with the company, so if you're going to be interviewing with Eurofins, Eurofins has hired a lot of Temple students over the past few years. It is a great idea to go and look up in your research, look up Eurofins, and then look for contacts who have graduated from Temple, from your programs. Reach out to them, ask to connect with them. Again, it is not considered stalking in LinkedIn to do that. And see if they can provide you with knowledge and insight and their opinions on working for that organization. What better way to know what the culture's like than to ask someone who, has a background similar to yours or went through your program? Because, oftentimes we're always worried about, do I know enough to get that first job? Am I going to be comfortable? Am I going to be successful? And if you can reach out to some alums and they're there and they're successful, what better way to kind of mitigate some of those concerns?
I just wanted to go to the comments. I saw there was a question about OPT. For that one, I just want to jump in just because I run into this all the time. If it's an essential business, you're going to be able to probably still find a job. If you're in a degree that maybe is non-essential, I would really encourage you to partner with your career services department. I can tell you in the scientific field, you would still be able to get a job. We really don't struggle. OPT is something I'm really versed in. I run into it all the time. We know how to fill out the paperwork, not an issue. I'm not sure if anybody else runs into it, but that would be the best advice I can give you, is if it's a non-essential field, which typically with STEM right now, you're still essential. I would really partner with either Rose or Marissa to see what you can find.
Great. We have another question from a student. I'll ask our recruiters. Can you think of any skills or talents that would be especially worth emphasizing at this specific time? Randall, do you have some thoughts on that? You are, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I don't know that I would say just specifically at this time, but as far as skills and talents, I really want students to understand there are companies. Now I know there's some that we've been talking with today that have specific skill needs. You have to have certain skills in order to do the job. But there are companies like ours that are really looking for character. Our company is built on character. And so I would, when you're looking at our job descriptions, I would ask students not to be put off or overly concerned about them matching 100% what they see on a job description as it relates to their background. I know Jessica had said she started in something that really was not her field. And a lot of times I find students' pathways go in all kinds of different directions before they get to where they want to be, or they're going to find that they may actually end up doing something that they enjoy that they never thought about. So I would be open, as a couple of other recruiters have said. We have all kinds of different positions that I find ours is an interesting business. It's not a sexy business. We sell kitchen equipment, and we outfit commercial kitchens, but the way we do that and the analytics behind all of that, in order to run the website that we run, there's all kinds of things that go into that. So I would say just be open-minded, and I've heard others say that. Don't think that, don't pigeonhole yourself as you're looking for jobs. Be creative and be confident, and go out there. And the one other thing besides the resume that you've put a lot of emphasis on, I'm finding that the cover letters are incredibly important as well. If students are sending generic cover letters, many times they kind of get kicked out. It's those that are putting language in there that makes it specific to the job, that are the ones that our hiring managers are really taking a look at. So as overwhelming as it might be to personalize each and every resume and each and every cover letter, I'm finding it's very important if that job is something that you really are interested in. So I would just throw that out there as well.
Great, thank you. Any other student questions?
I can add to that real quick, if you don't mind.
No,
as
please.
far as skills or talent, kind of during this time, I think, adaptability is definitely one of them, kind of showing that like you can adjust to change. I think self-motivation is going to be huge too, right? You're essentially siloed in a lot of the work that we do remotely. So being able to kind of portray that you're trustworthy, you're self-motivated, skills that you have to ensure and show to an employer that you have the ability to work remotely and still be able to get the job done. Interpersonal skills, communication skills, the use of technology. We're finding all that is super important, as we work through this new normal as far as remote kind of business, if you will, and communication. So, again, written, oral, video type conferences, a lot of those things I think are going to be super important to emphasize. Right now, there's a very good chance that we onboard our interns this summer remotely, right? So if you're interviewing for an opportunity for this summer, you definitely want to be able to show that, you have the skills and the ability to be a value add, even when you're not sitting directly across from your manager or next to your teammates. Hopefully that helps a little.
Great, thank you. And I think, this interesting time that students are having to go through, all of our employers may know that all of our classrooms have gone virtual. So our students have been picking up new, very diverse communication skills, both working remotely, working in virtual teams, and students, you should make sure you are highlighting that in your conversations with these recruiters.
a really great point.
I'll add to that, Rose, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
So one of the things that you have to be aware of too is, when you're learning at home and you get used to those online courses, you might be showing up in your pajamas and that sort of thing. So you do want to make sure that you at least have the jacket on or the tie or the necklace, whatever, to make yourself look presentable when you're doing those online interviews. And then to add on to what we were talking about as far as additional skills, I think if you just come to your interviews, whether they be a phone interview, whether they be a video interview, or hopefully someday again we'll do the on-site interviews. I think if you just come with the enthusiasm, everybody's going to be nervous. We know you're nervous. It's okay. Relax. We're all breathing the same air. It's all good. We're all human beings, but just try to relax, but come with your enthusiasm and let that employer know that you're wanting to work for that company, that it's not just some job, that you're wanting to learn as well.
I would add on to that, come prepared with questions too. And it doesn't matter whether that's a virtual interview or a on-site interview when we get back to on-sites. Make sure that you have questions ready and prepared for the interview, based on your research, based on the job description. Asking questions, some of the best questions I've seen that can really apply to any role that you'd be interviewing for are asking about the culture of the organization. Maybe I'm biased to that one since given what we do at Energage, but ask about the culture of the organization, the culture of the team that you'd be working on. Ask about what makes someone really successful in this role, what kind of skills, what kind of traits, behavioral traits, or whatever do they need to be successful. And then, I think always asking about growth opportunity is always a good one as well. So come prepared with questions.
Great. We tell our students that all the time. Thank you, Jessica. Marissa, I'm going to let you finish up, and then I want to be very respectful of everyone's time. Students, if you have questions you didn't ask, you can email Kelsey or I, or post them, and we'll reach back out and make sure you get answers. So Marissa, I'm going to let you kind of finish, from a Campus Philly perspective, anything else you can add to it that students may want to know?
Yeah, all of these, everything that everyone mentioned today was awesome tips for interviews, and this is the kind of stuff that we're trying to share as much as possible. And we're trying to tell the stories of employers that have these unique opportunities to tell. For example, Randall, I really loved what you said, that it's not necessarily a sexy industry, but there are these really interesting jobs available that people might not even realize. So I think trying to spotlight those employer stories and the different opportunities available that students might not even know about is what we're trying to do. So this was really helpful for us to kind of gather a little bit more information about what students are looking for and what employers are talking about during this time. And look for opportunities that we'll be posting for virtual events, for things like this that are just simple webinars where you can ask questions and we'll be here to answer. We're going to be teaming up with employers all over the region to host more events like this. So this was also a really great learning experience for me to see how well it went and to see how engaged everyone was. So thank you to everyone who asked questions, because this was awesome. And all the employers, thank you for sharing such awesome insights into what's going on right now, because this was really helpful for us too.
Yeah, again, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I want to say thank you so much to this phenomenal group of employers. Literally, Kelsey and I came up with this wild idea last Friday morning and said, well, let's give it a shot and see how it went. And this morning we were emailing back and forth, oh my gosh, suppose this doesn't work. So this has gone past any of our expectations. So you responded in little bits of time. We just had kind of came up with an agenda, and you guys were awesome. So thank you so much. And to students, we've gotten a couple postings. Hopefully you found this valuable. You've now begun to build a network of these awesome employers. And, we're really excited. Feel free to tell your friends. We're going to do another session at 5 o'clock. We'll have a different group of employers, different folks. We'll also post this recording online so that if you, tell your friend, this was a great session, you should have joined, that'll be there. And we'll share all of the recruiters' contact information, LinkedIn contact information with you as well. So So again, Kelsey, thank you for helping me set this up. Really appreciate it. And to all of our employers, thank you so much. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.